What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Kind of Funny Gamescast for Thursday, July 18th, 2024. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside two amazing guests. First, from PureDiablo.com, the Diablo podcast, it's Xanth.
Well, hello, everybody. I can actually see myself now, and
You're looking good.
you're welcome.
You're looking good. When we were doing the reaction stream, people were, what is your shirt?
So this is it's the Wu-Tang logo,
Yeah.
but it says Wisconsin. One of my old rugby teammates had a company and made some shirts, and it looks good.
Xanth, of course, you're here because you know everything about Diablo. You're here because when I was so obsessed with Diablo before it came out, I, the person who makes video game podcasts, needed podcasts about Diablo, and I found the Diablo podcast. So thank you for making that show. I listen to it regularly, and I love it.
Wow. If you have not seen, Greg has actually been on my podcast.
It's true.
And it was an amazing experience, right?
For me.
For all of us. And he was so complimentary. And like, he's starting out, he's being so nice. He's complimenting me. He's bumping me up. And I sincerely appreciate it because this is surreal. This is Rod Fergusson.
It's Rod Fergusson, everybody. General manager of all things Diablo. Hello, Rod.
Hey, how's it going? I don't know if I can match your energy today, but I will.
You're doing it.
attempt
You're
to.
already doing it.
I'm already doing it. Okay.
And look at your shirt, so Spiritborn.
I mean, yeah, I thought I brought Nahantu to life today with the Spiritborn in the jungle. I mean, why, if you're going to do it real.
Congratulations. Of course, we're coming off the live reacts to the Spiritborn reveal. It just went over. We just watched an hour of it. Great presentation. Team was great.
Thank you. Yeah, no, and I mean, I tried to convince Adam not to do live. Like he'll tell you. I think 3 times I ran up that hill going like, dude, live is hard. Live is hard because we do live all the time for campfires. But I'm like, you got the big set. You're at Xbox Studios.
Yeah.
Like, just film it. And he was like, no, we need to do it live. I want that energy. I want to be able to react to the questions. And so 3 times I said, don't do it, record it. And he was like, no. And it turned out great. They made the right choice.
Well, we have a lot of questions for you about Spiritborn, about Diablo 4, about everything Diablo, so we want to get to that. But first, I'll remind everybody that this is the Kind of Funny Gamescast. I'm sure a lot of you came over from the reveal stream. Thank you so much for the shout-out on it. Of course, we do the Gamescast each and every weekday live on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames and twitch.tv/kindoffunnygames. If you love what we do, of course, get the Kind of Funny membership on patreon.com/kindoffunnygames or youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. Of course, you would get all of our shows ad-free, the ability to watch the afternoon podcast live as we record them, and you get the daily multimedia experience known as Greg Way. Today, if you're watching live, you can go to the youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. Super chat there with any amount, and you can get your questions read here. We'll talk to Rod. We'll put them under the old heat lamp, the interrogation.
I could use some color.
Tell us everything. I know you're one of the video game developers hunched in your dark room all the time. Like I said, we just did our live reacts to the stream. If you want to go watch that, Joey was on it with us. After this, we're going to go stream Diablo 4 with Rod Fergusson. I'm very excited.
We're going to try to get you another trophy.
Ladies and gentlemen, there was a chat that went by earlier, and it was iRockster who said, are they going to stream the new Diablo character after this? And iRockster, the answer is no.
Sorry.
Other outlets probably would have done that, but I'm Greg Miller, and I'm 6 trophies short of my Diablo Platinum. So these gentlemen are going to pull my level 10 hardcore character to 50, pop that, and then basically it's hit a level 100, take down Uber Lilith. It's done. It's donezo. We're over. We're out of it. Easy peasy.
Yeah. Have you killed 5 people yet?
No, but that's easy too.
Okay.
I mean, that's when. I mean, you want to do that today too? We can do that thing. You know what I mean? That's easy.
Not in hardcore though.
No, not in hardcore. No, not in hardcore. We can scam that. That's easy. We'll figure it out. Like I said, that's after this. And then, of course, thank you to our Patreon producers for making our dreams a reality. Carl Jacobs and Delaney Twining. Today's Greg Way is going to be all about how this Diablo stuff came together. And today we're brought to you by Harry's and the Portillo merch line. But we'll tell you about that later. For now, let's start with topic of the show. He listens to the show, everybody. Xanth actually listens to the show.
For the past 3 weeks, I've been just getting giddy to do tots.
Yeah.
I'll listen to the car. I've been practicing. And I'm like, it's going to happen. I'm going to get to do it.
A lot of other shows, they wouldn't do it.
Right.
They'd say, oh, we got a guest of the caliber of Rod. Let's not do the bits. And I say, no, we still do the bits.
Still do the bits.
We still do what this all is.
Okay.
Rod Fergusson.
Yes.
Spiritborn finally revealed.
Yes.
Is that a weight off your shoulders, or are you still so in the middle of a marathon? You still have 2 months till Vessel of Hatred. We still don't even really know that much outside of the character of what Vessel of Hatred is. I was talking about this in the stream.
Right.
We just did an hour-long stream about just the class.
Right.
Not about the world, not about the map, not about the side quest, not about the activities, nothing like that.
Yeah, I mean, we have lots more to come. I mean, it's a journey. We're not at the destination yet, and that destination is October 8th when it comes out. But as we talked about, Adam talked about sending people to Gamescom. We're going to do hands-on with Spiritborn. Xanth wants to go.
Can you rig the contest so he wins? He'd really like to go.
If I did win, it would be bad. I'm not going to enter just due to internet speculation.
But we have lots more to reveal. That's the cool thing about doing something the size of an expansion. That's not just one thing, and so it's more than the Neyrelle story. It's more than the Spiritborn class. We've got lots more things to talk about. We've alluded to the mercenaries. We'll go really deep on that at Gamescom. There's our sort of co-op endgame mode. That's going to be something we're going to talk about more later. So there's so today is Spiritborn Day, but we have lots to talk about moving forward.
I referenced it being a marathon right now till October 8th.
Yeah.
However, of course, it's been a marathon since launch, maybe even beyond that. And I thought there was an interesting question that went by when we were live wrapping up the Spiritborn stream. And it came from Duba, 22, who in the chat said, I hope this is a banger of an expansion. Diablo has gained so much momentum back. Is that accurate, do you feel? Like when you look at what you guys have done in your timeline here, this really, this launch that was so well received, right? And then you're a games as a service. You go on and it is people, I didn't like this season, I don't like this change. What about this? Why'd they do that? Yeah. How do you look so far at the journey of Diablo 4?
I mean, it's kind of that momentum is what we've been trying to achieve. When you go back and you look at the history, especially in terms of main game releases, you go, from D2 to D3 was 10 years. Yeah. Right. So for your players, that's obviously a very long time. And then from D3 main game to D4 main game, 10 years. And so this notion of having decades between the sequels is, sucks as a player. And so we don't want to keep doing that. And so that's the notion about us having this momentum around having the live service so that we can keep evolving over time, having expansions so we can keep people playing and introducing new classes, all the way to trying to make sure that we're not doing these sort of decade-long beats between games.
And then I feel like that's one of the interesting things I've had conversations with both last week when I went down to actually play a Spiritborn class, and then even here talking to PR, right, of this idea that like, man, season 4 is so good, Xanth. We're having such a good time. We're leveling, And there's been these like actual conversations I've had of like, yeah, we know it is. A lot of that we were thinking about putting into Vessel of Hatred, but then we said, why wait? Is that like the mantra right now? Just make the game as good as you can in the moment you can?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, seasons are usually like 3 months. I mean, season 5 will be shorter, but like that notion of how long do you have to wait to get this change in, but also that it takes time to make those changes. And that's some of the, we get feedback all the time, like, oh, season 4 was amazing. Why didn't you launch like that? And we're like, well, we kind of learned,
First off, jerk.
I just go like, look, you learn as you go. That's the thing I really love about a live service is that it's evolving and getting better each time, hopefully. And so the notion of like, you don't have a season 4 without a season 1, 2, and 3. We had to learn the lessons of 1, 2, and 3 to get to 4. And that's what the nice thing about a live service, you go like, oh, I see what worked and what didn't work, and then we can kind of build on it. And so that's really how 4 became 4. And it's just we're trying to continue that momentum as we go. Now, like season 4 was huge because it was Loot 2.0. It was the Loot, we completely redid an entire system. Like season 5 will be shorter and won't have that. We're doing the whole thing, but then season 6 brings with it the expansion. I think people are going to be really excited about. Season 5 is going to be great. People are playing the PTR right now and having a good time playing with the Horde mode that we have introduced there. But I think when season 6 lands with the Vessel of Hatred and with the Spiritborn, I think that people are going to be really excited.
So you mentioned season 4, and Greg, you were talking about it. It is phenomenal. I'm having a great time. Yeah, it's amazing how many hours I've put in already.
Well, like it's our biggest. We've had over 300 million hours. And there's your hint. You're not close enough to the mic.
Hey, it was a one shot of you. Nobody saw it. It was perfect. It was perfect sleight of hand.
I have a tendency to gesticulate, and I don't want to like knock.
You're not. You're doing. Well, again, you're turning the rods. You're fine. Just ignore me. I'm not here.
You have to rotate around the mic, Sam.
I thought I had it.
So no, but I mean that's one of the things that when we look at it, the season 4 was the most successful for us, and one in terms of win back. Like then no season brought back as many players as season 4 did. And then the amount of play that's happening with 300 million hours being played just in season 4. I have 6 level 100s in season 4.
I saw them.
And they're all softcore, Mr. Hardcore Xanth. But like, yes.
Dude's a psycho. Dude is a psycho.
Yeah. I'm also old, so the idea of losing all my progress and start again, it doesn't work on an old person like me.
No, have you even heard the full thing, though? Did he tell you the full thing? Because he's talked to me about this before, where he'll, like, kill them. When the season's over, he'll kill them.
Oh, you'll sacrifice
them?
I don't want to be tempted.
It
makes the season a lot easier to go back and do it.
We were talking today about, like, what to play, because we're going to play for a couple of hours afterwards, and we were like, oh, we could do this, and then Xanth just goes like, well, I don't have any softcore characters to play with you guys. And we're like, okay, humble brag. And then I'm like, well, I don't have any hardcore characters. I got my hardcore 50 in season 1. And I was like, got that achievement, not trophy, but I got that achievement.
They're knockoffs. You know what I mean? Phil decided to copy trophies a long time.
Trophies.
We're not going to get into it right now. We said the console wars would be laid aside.
Sorry. Anyway, so I got that achievement and I was like, hardcore is watching they die and then come up with the character create screen. It's like, no, I don't have that, that time to watch.
It's a rush.
I get the energy. Like to get to 50, I ran for my life a number of times. And so I get the energy. And so I'm looking forward to doing hardcore with Hardcore Xanth and getting Greg his much needed trophy.
Thank you.
So I'm looking forward to that.
We'll get him. So you made mention of season 4 again, to kind of bring it back up. There was a delay, right? How hard was that, like, to push the season a month? Because I gained a lot of respect for you guys to say, like, we can get this out, but it's not going to be as good. We want to take the time to do it right.
Right.
And that's why we have a truncated season 5 now. Mm-hmm. But, like, how hard was that to do?
It's really hard. And it's hard to weather the storm, honestly, because we know why we made that decision. We know what we could or couldn't get done in time to be part of that season. Because the thing is that we have, like, season, the way that we think about our development is we think about it as swim lanes. And so there are these stacked swim lanes, like, oh, we have a live team and we have the expansion team and we have the shop team. And they're all, and we actually have multiple season teams who have to leapfrog each other. And so as we're learning and trying to get changes in, sometimes you go, wow, like, you have a fixed period of time of development because your season runs for 3 months and then there's the next one. And so knowing what we can push, like saying like, hey, if we delay by a few weeks, we can get this thing that players are really going to love. But the moment you say, hey, we're pushing, a lot of people are like, what's going on? Like, this is too long and da-da-da-da. And so the weathering the storm of, like, we believe in our choices, but a lot of people don't understand why we're doing it. That's the hard part, is like we can't necessarily be fully transparent on what's going on because, it's a push. But I think at the end of the day, season 4, the success of season 4 tells us we made the right call. And I think season 5 is a kind of a bridge into season 6 and the expansion, I think is going to be great. And the 2 months, a lot of people, as we watch the sort of participation in a season, 2 months is actually a pretty decent amount of time for players, especially with how fast season 4 is now, that you can get 100 pretty quickly. And so I think it's going to work out. I think it'll work out. And then when people get into season 6, like I said, we've been talking about the expansion, but the fact that season 6 lands at the same time as the expansion, we haven't even really started talking about season 6. And because there is going to be a season 6 that's going to have features that if you didn't buy the expansion, you're still going to get to go play a cool season. So but we're not talking about that yet. So there's
Can we talk about that?
No, we cannot. There's a PR person off stage like glaring at me. So no. But yeah, so I think there's going to be, anyways, very long answer to could be short, which is, it's very hard to delay, but I think we made the right call.
I think we're seeing it in season 4.
100%. I think that's why you've seen this reaction to it. As someone who never left, right, who has been there and started a character for every season and been through it, it was shocking to me. I forget when season 4 launched, what reviews I was on. And I was getting the people like, oh man, are you back? Are you doing? I'm like, what? No, are you back? You haven't played at all since launch. Why are you telling me about it?
Right.
But it was that idea that season 4 was that good that it brought that many people back to it.
Yeah, it was really we really landed into that philosophy of find the fun fast. That was some of the things that I think that's part of the issue with a progression-based game is that, you start small and you have to build up and build up and build up. And so that idea of like, what does it feel like to be at level 80 when all the systems are firing, then you go like, oh, this is amazing. But it took me, tens of hours to get there. And now with season 4, you had the Iron Wolves who were able to through the board give you a cool unique. It was really funny. I don't mind the story, but
Please.
like fired up season 4. I'm in my office because it launched on a weekday, so I'm in there, and the Gavin Wishaw, who's our executive producer for D4, he's next door, and I started yelling at him, and it was a joke. I was mocking, but I'm a Necro main. I play Necro all the time. But I was like, Gavin, what's going on? You mean I have to explode my own corpses now? Like I have to do my own corpse tendrils? Because there's a ring that would do that for you. But traditionally that ring falls at Varshan, which is a level 75 boss. And so you're like, I have to play, close to that 70 levels before I get this cool ring ability. But then when you go to the Iron Wolves, I was like level 40, the ring fell. And I was like, or I can get this ability right now and have a lot of fun right away. And so that's the big thing about the philosophy of season 4 is getting to that build faster. That, a lot of times people's builds came online at level 80 and then you're like, I have 20 levels left to enjoy it. And now with season 4, you can feel it before you've even left World Tier 2. And so it was amazing.
Yeah, I think I knew season 4 was something special when you got my wife back. Because that was Jen's big problem. We played, launch, where baby's asleep, we're downstairs. We're playing. And then as soon as season 1 dropped, and I was like, all right, come on, we've got to roll new characters. She was like, wait, what? Like, no, I don't want to. And every time I've gone back for a season, I'll get her maybe for a night. She's like, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do this. But season 4, when I went down there and re-rolled, it was like she came with me and, I'm way more competitive, way quicker. I'm back to this. Like I found the fun faster.
Yeah, and alts is it's super straightforward now. Like once you get that one character, watching people get I've been playing with my sons, and my son would be like, he's playing a druid, which you're happy about, but
absolutely.
But he would go he's very fickle. He's like, he saw something cool, he wants to play it, and so he was just like, hey, you're gonna hate me, but I really want to start over as a rogue, and I'm like, oh no, I don't hate you. That sounds cool. And he goes like, can you help me? And I'm like, sure. And then 45 minutes later, he's got a level 60 rogue. And you're like, no other season did we have that ability to be able to take an alt and have someone help you get there quickly so that, again, finding the fun fast. And so I only did that on I did that on my second Necro. I did one Necro and then I went, I want a different build, but I don't want to erase this one. And so I was went to my oldest son and said hey, can you return the favor? I want a second Necro. And we boosted that Necro, but the other ones I played straight. But it's there for you, whether it's doubling potions and putting 3 incenses on, or we're getting pulled through the capstones. There's ways to really accelerate your play, which is awesome. And I think it's only going to get, we're going to continue to lean in on find the fun fast.
Yeah, I think that's been an interesting conversation with people who are casually oh man, I'm having so much fun. People who are dreading season 5. And I'm like, well, I doubt they're going to remove the thing you like right now. It's going to just keep piling on, right? Yeah, right. It'll be a different idea of what's going on narratively, but yeah, you'll be doing it.
Yeah, it's the one challenge I think is just around balance. Is just you're trying to we want all the builds to be fun and you have success, to certain levels of degree. And so, one of the things we always talk about is we want every build to be able to do a pit 61 because we want you to be able to get all the masterworking materials. And so trying to make sure that happens. But in some cases you go the barbarian is just out of whack. And you go, and people are having fun with it. So you go, you know what? Our new philosophy is leave it alone. Early seasons we were kind of get on it right away. And now we're you know what? It's fun. Let them have fun. But in between seasons, we're kind of hey, Sork and Druid need help. And maybe we need to fix Barb a little bit. And then all the Barb people get really mad at us because how dare you? and the Sork and Druid people even go not enough. And so, so it's a constant ebb and flow on the balance, and we're working through that. But our intentions are the right intentions. We want all builds to be viable and fun. And so that's us trying to find that. And so I think the pit's been really helpful actually, because you've been able to look at and say, hey, what's the top build at the depth of pit they go to? And you can actually kind of see more of the discrepancies of how far a druid can go or how far a Sork can go. So that's been really helpful for the team. And I think you're really going to feel it in season 5. They're really bringing the fact that you could temper legendaries meant that uniques weren't as interesting because they didn't get all the extra stuff. And so we're, revisiting a lot of uniques. And we're not adding tempering to them, but we're making them more powerful so that they're viable again. And then all the balance changes that are coming, Sork and Druid, are going to get the love that they deserve. And so there's going to be a lot of great stuff to go and find and play in 5.
Rod, you mentioned tempering. So if somebody in Kind of Funny is tuning in, they haven't played since the launch of the game,
then shame on them.
Shame
on them.
You should be playing. But tempering is completely new.
Sure.
What What's a brief elevator pitch for tempering for somebody who hasn't played?
Basically, you adding your own affixes to a legendary item. Essentially what we want. The problem that we had before Loot 2.0 was there was too much mental anguish to find out if this thing is better than that thing. Because I had to compare like 6 different things to say like, oh, 2 of them are the same, 4 are different, or 3 are different. How do I think about this? And so what we want to do is boil it down to like 3 main stats. So you could go better or worse, and then go, oh, for my build, those other 2, I want to add them myself. And so tempering is the ability to take a particular affix. Like my rogue has an ability called Heartseeker, which is firing an arrow that homes. I can add to my bow the ability for it to fire twice, right? And so that's very specific to my build. So instead of scouring the world looking for bows that have Heartseeker fires twice, I can find any bow and add that to it, right? And if I'm lucky enough in my tempering. And so that notion is just allows you to really add power to your build and really focus your build, which is what I really like.
In tandem, let's just hit like all the great new things from season 4. The aspect system. Completely redone.
In what way? Sorry, what do you mean the aspect system?
So, in the launch of the game, you had to find a legendary, you had to put it into your stash because maybe I'm going to use it. Maybe I'm not.
Sorry, I see what you mean. Yeah, the putting it into the codex.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. This guy's
never played the game. This guy's never played.
I never played the game. So what I read online was that it's really cool.
Back of the box.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I never called it the aspect system before for some reason. Anyway. Great point. But yes, that was the big thing was that because you could only like take it off of one thing and put it on another once, you ended up building up your stash of all these backups. And they were all of varying power. Like, oh, it does this 50%. Oh, this is 40. Oh, this is 30. I would never use this, but just in case. And every time you found a new piece of gear, you'd be like, it's better, but is it better enough to break this one down to add this thing to it? And so what the new system does allows you to basically, when you salvage that, you put it into your book, your codex, and now you can apply the best version of that all the time to everything you find, like to every bow you find, you can add that thing. And so that just takes a huge weight off your shoulders in terms of making your build and optimizing it.
And leveling.
Yeah.
Playing hardcore. I die a lot. And then being able to
maybe you're not good at hardcore.
Oh,
so
I'm
just
not.
You play it doesn't mean
again, I play it. I'm not professing to be amazing.
Masochist.
I just hate myself. But it is easy to then level, right? It's easy to get a build back going. It is frustrating, like when you were to die and like, I lost all X, Y, and Z. No, I can, by level 15, 20, I'm back up and running my build at the level that I'm used to.
Right, because you've stored it in your codex. And that's the thing. It's actually, as somebody I'm a pseudo completionist, like I complete most of the things, but like that's one of the cool things with the codex now is that you can go and say, did I get all the aspects for all the classes? So taking 5, or 6, but all 5 of the classes to 100, I've got 100% of all aspects. I don't necessarily have the best version of them. So there's still some like I haven't maxed out, but I know at least I have one of everything. So if I want to go make a build, I know I have an aspect waiting for me.
And it makes it a lot more fun.
Totally. And easier, yeah.
You get to play the way you want to.
You talked earlier, right, about the classes. We keep going back into that. You talk about, arguing with the team, joking around about that, everything you do with them.
Right.
When you're set off and they pitch you Spiritborn, and I assume that's how it works. I don't know if you're in the conference room with the people on the whiteboard immediately.
What do you have? Bring it to me.
Yeah, exactly. Internally, was there like a pushback at all about this 4-Spirit run? Because after playing it, and then even the folks who watched it today, it really isn't, I'm the Spiritborn. Like, it's the Spiritborn, but I'm also going to be the Centipede, or I'm also going to be Jack. It feels like it's 4-in-1 in a lot of different ways, which I imagine all these permutations make it even harder to make a character and a class and a build that doesn't break the game or doesn't negate something else you're trying to do on one end of the spectrum.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's a lot more challenging, and when you have that ability to mix and match. And even just going deep, like one of the last times I played it, I decided to go 100% Centipede, and I didn't pick anything that wasn't a Centipede thing. And just the power that was there, we're like, we may need to look at that. Like, this going 100% Centipede is very overpowered in this particular.
You never go 100% Centipede.
You never go
full Centipede.
You never go full Centipede. And so there, but yeah, I mean, it's one of the interesting challenges because we were talking about what the expansion should be. We were saying let's do something different because when you think about Diablo, you think of like, Eastern Europe, medieval kind of feel. And so we're like, oh, let's take it somewhere else that you're not, maybe would be, feel very different in the moment. And so that's where the jungles came in. And and then it was kind of one of those like serendipity things where things started clicking in, where you're like, oh, we're going to go to the jungle, and oh, Mephisto's the big bad, and oh, Mephisto comes from Kurast and all that stuff, that area. And so bringing Hantu as a nostalgia play for the Diablo 2 players, but bringing it as sort of for Diablo 4 players is very visually different sort of region. And then the real big decision was that, and Brent brought it up on the stream, was just like we wanted to have a class that came from the new place. We didn't want to have it be completely separate. Like, oh, we have this holy paladin and we have a jungle. Those don't fit, like, as a theme, And so we've definitely heard the sword and board thing, that people want that, and we're very aware of that. But for this first one, we really wanted to focus on making sure it came from the right place and bringing something new, because the first 5 with 10 years between D3 and D4, we wanted to make sure we were paying homage to the past, that we were hitting all the nostalgia beats, and that you could see the demon hunter and the Amazon and the assassin in the rogue, and that you could feel like the barbarian was the barbarian, and you have whirlwind and all that stuff. And so this was our first, like, okay, let's go and just really bring something new. And then, the complexity of like, okay, it's a 4-in-1 makes it challenging, but it actually makes it super, super interesting, because you can find all those different play styles inside of it.
For sure. Yeah, I think that was what spoke to me, again, even visually here, but then playing it, was after 120 plus hours or whatever, which I know chump change numbers, don't get in my face about it, but of running around Sanctuary, right? And then suddenly having this green, lush environment, these new enemy types, new effect. I was like, wow, this feels so good and looks so good too. I think that's one thing you guys don't get enough credit for, is how good that game looks in action.
Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I think it's really interesting. The thing that I find funny, though, is that like the way that the story continues in the expansion, it continues in a way that the character and Neyrelle have a relationship, right? Because they've known each other. Well, because it picks up from the main campaign story. And the one thing that I hitched on a little bit was that I was like, oh, I got the expansion, I'm going to roll a new Spiritborn, and then my new Spiritborn rolls into the expansion, and Neyrelle and then my character are talking like they've known each other, and I'm like you guys just met. Like, what do you? And so I really want to once I get the expansion, I want to go back and play the whole campaign as Spiritborn.
Sure.
Which you can do. And we recorded all that dialogue for the Spiritborn to play the main campaign. So please go play the campaign as Spiritborn. But then to build that bond with Neyrelle, so that when I go enter the expansion, that knowing look they have is like earned, because we did play together, that kind of thing, right?
And one of those things, sorry, just cut you off before we lose that thread, because again, you're talking to not only my wife, Jen, but Snowbike Mike out there, right?
Right.
Of course, he's got kids to take care of.
I know. So, what do you do? A single parent, it's rough.
I know. But Mike is very much loves Diablo, but hasn't been back for any of the seasons. However, the expansion, he's all in for. He's coming. I want to call out that you can bring your Eternal character and play this new Vessel of Hatred content, right?
Yeah, totally. You can do. That's one of the things we focused on, was the player journey, and it was like, okay, we want a level 1 Spiritborn to be able to play the expansion. We want a level 100 Eternal to play the expansion.
Yeah.
We want a level 50 Season 6 character to play the expansion. So it really takes into account where you are. And so, you can approach it from however you play.
With the success Diablo 4 had at launch, and the new players that joined it, let alone now with Game Pass, and people are, I'm sure, so many people, this is their first Diablo.
Yeah.
Have you guys had conversations internally about like changing seasonal content to where you could bring an Eternal character in to experience it at all?
I mean, we talk about all of those things. I think the thing that was the easiest to action in the moment right now is that we're bringing the seasonal content to the Eternal realm. So things that you're seeing, like the new Horde mode in Season 5, will be in the Eternal realm, so that you can go play that content there. And so we're trying right now is to bring as much like Hell Tides and those sorts of things. We're trying to bring as much into the Eternal realm as well as the seasonal realm, as opposed to the characters moving between the realms.
Sure.
But it's an ongoing conversation, it's like, what's the best way? Is there a good way to do that? Because it's a standard piece of feedback. There are types of players who are like, I'm 100% invested in this character, and I spent 100 hours making them, and I don't want to let them go. And then you have, people who like, I could make another 100 in 24 hours, so I'm okay kind of cycling through it. And because the hard part is, like, when you look at what Diablo 3 did with seasons and its success, which is sort of the model or the inspiration for D4, was that the dopamine hit of Diablo is progression. that idea that you're moving through. And so that idea of like, oh, season 4 is done. I'm on season 5 and I'm rolling to level 1 and I feel that ding, ding, ding as I go all the way up to 100. Like that's part of that what's great about playing a Diablo game. And so that was the reason why we really went into that seasonal model initially.
As you're talking a little bit about progression, right? And I think when we're looking at like D3 to D4, I love the fact that you guys capped. Like we hit level 100, we don't go past that, but we're going into an expansion.
Right.
Now, if you can't answer,
we may be doing things about that. Yes.
Okay.
We may be aware that, like, how you think about how you progress your levels or where your levels stop or how that all works. Like, there'll be things to talk about at a later time.
Lots of stuff to still talk about.
Yeah, that's the thing about the expansion. There is lots, and like I said, the fact that it's on top of season 6, like that's the thing around when people. It's easy to get slightly confused because I too get slightly confused. But the notion of when you do something at a seasonal cadence, but it's not seasonal specific. So take Luke 2.0 or the aspect system you talked about. Like those occurred during season 4, but they are game changes that are forevermore. So it's not like when season 5 starts, the aspect system goes away or the Luke 2.0 goes away.
That would be real bad.
That'd be real bad.
We don't want to do that.
Yeah, and so even when we look at stuff that maybe there are things and more things will get revealed, but there may even be things like when we look at season 4 and go like, this is going away. Like when we start day 1 in season 4, we go, hey, we've introduced this thing at the end in 3 months, that's going away. And then as we watch the season play out, we'll go, oh, that's way more successful than we were intending or expected. So therefore, you know what? That's staying or it's coming back in a different way, but it's coming back. And you see that a little bit when we took the seasonal mechanics of like season 1 and brought them back as rings, or at least some of the powers of that. Like that's one of those things where you go like, oh, like my necromancer having the auto fire ring,
right?
Like having the auto fire ability was so transformative as a necro. We're like, well, we kind of have to have that. Like you can't let that go away forever. No. And so now it's back as a ring. And so we're watching and learning all the time. And we have round tables with players. We do surveys. We do look at social media. We have our actual data, our telemetry that we can measure. So we can actually see what's happening. And that's one of the things that's really interesting to me. Like if you look at season 2, which was really popular because of the vampire theme, like the average max level of a character in season 2 after 5 days was 38. In season 4, it's 53. Right? So just the amount of like it speaks to that find the fun fast, but also the notion of like, oh, I'm going to sink a bunch of hours into this right now because it's so fun right now,
One of my favorite things from the tour and the visit and the preview last week was getting to go to like mission control where we just walked by it, but it was all the screens of like, oh yeah. And this is like, the brain of Blizzard. You can see all the people playing and what they're doing and where they're, and I was like, oh my God, it's just data on all these screens. I was like, I would love to actually go in this room because I wasn't allowed in the room to sit there and watch all of that and see what's up. Cause it's just so impressive to see how many people are logging in. Like you're talking about telemetry and tracking all of that.
Yeah, it's an important part of what we do, and we have a whole team dedicated to it. And that was part of the thing that we had for a while, like for season 1, our live team was actually part of our season team, and we recognized that that's not working quite right, and so we created an actual separate live team that they're just all they care about is what's happening in the game, like right now and the balance and stuff, while people are off working on seasonal stuff. And so it was meant to be that focus that we recognized pretty quickly, like, hey, from a balance perspective, from all the things, when people in our streams love Colin, they let Colin cook, like, he's part of that live team that's all about like, okay, what are we seeing in the game and what do we need to do to make it better for the next season?
You got to take care of those players.
Absolutely.
Just like they take care of you.
Exactly.
And just like you take care of Kinda Funny. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, if you love what we do here, pick up that Kinda Funny membership, either on patreon.com/kindafunny or youtube.com/kindafunnygames. With it, you get all of our shows ad-free. You get the ability to watch the afternoon podcast live as we record them. And of course, you get the daily multimedia experience known as Greg Way. But right now, you're not using your membership benefits. So here's a word from our sponsor.
This episode is brought to you by Harry's. I always hate it when I buy something and then talk to someone else and realize I way overspent and they got it for cheaper. It's happened to all of us, but getting ripped off is no joke, especially when there's razors involved. The people at Harry's were tired of seeing everyday people paying way too much for for low-quality shaving products. So they found a way to make beautifully designed razors without laughably high prices. You can get better designed and better value grooming products made by a company that forged their own path in the grooming industry. Harry's has been keeping me looking right for years, and you already know I looked so good at my wedding thanks to that very close shave from Harry's. Highest customer satisfaction in the shaving industry. No risk trial. If you don't like your shave, no worries. It's on them. Convenient subscription options that you can cancel at any time, so you can stop getting ripped off. With Harry's, you can get a shave that's a cut above the rest. Get started with a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/kindafunny. That's harrys.com/kindafunny for a $3 trial set.
Major announcement. I wrote a children's book, and you can buy it right now. My first ever children's book, Portillo the Wiener Dog Thinks He's a Manatee, is available as a limited run at kindafunny.com/store. I'm forever grateful to Kinda Funny best friend Josh Strickland for stepping in to help turn my dream into a reality with his amazing original illustrations. To celebrate the book launch, we're also bringing back the Portillo hat and t-shirt, along with a fun new crew neck that you can wear while you're reading the book to your kids or pets. Head over to kindafunny.com/store right now and check it out before it disappears. Remember, of course, youtube.com/kindafunnygames with the super chats for your questions for Rod. We have a bunch piling up we will get to, but right now, Xanth, back to you.
So we did get to see a new class today, the Spiritborn.
Yeah.
Let's hype that.
Hey, way to bring it back on topic. That's right.
So somebody's got to do it. I'm going to keep the show in line.
Rod's like, why do they only want to talk about season 4?
So we're bumping out. We're getting a new class. You talked a little bit before about class balance.
Yeah.
How much harder is it as you introduce a brand new one? Like the joke we've made on our podcast before is like every time there's a new class that gets entered into Sanctuary, it's always a little out of whack. They're the most powerful thing ever.
It's not a bad thing.
No, absolutely. I mean, I'm going to love this. But how much harder is it to balance a new class plus all the other ones that are already in play?
It's extremely difficult. I'm not going to lie. Like even when, if you were to survey the people watching, they would say that we still haven't figured it out for the 5 we have. So why are you doing it for 6? So it's definitely a challenge, especially relative to each other. And especially when, it's one of those things where you give something and it's hard to bring back. So you make somebody overpowered. And then the moment you try to we have to nudge that back a little bit, they're like, what the heck? And so it's a ongoing conversation. And that's why we changed our philosophy around how busted does something have to be before we fix it. And generally it's now, we've kind of gotten to the place, as long as it's not breaking the servers, because we've actually had that. We've had a build that, when you look at the PTR for season 4 and a screen full of fiery dust devils, you're like, oh, if that went public, like in a wide, we would be crashing everything.
Yeah, it was bad.
And so you have to rein that in. And then, we sort of look at okay, at mid-season, we're going to have mid-season. That's a good time. You got to play with it for, a month and a half. We might need to tweak a few things, and then you get and then we'll carry on. So we try to be more transparent and more deliberate about balance. So it's just not, you wake up one morning and all of a sudden your build isn't viable anymore. And we would never swing it that much. But that's how people sometimes feel. Like, I have this amazing build, and then I went to bed and woke up the next morning and I'm doing half the damage I thought I should be doing. Yeah, and so we definitely wanted to get out of that. And so it's really a philosophical change around not trying to chase the ideal of a perfectly balanced, and more about recognizing what's fun and chasing what's fun and letting people have what's fun. And honestly, anytime you have that feeling that you're breaking the game, that you've somehow cheated, you figured something out. Like the time when I recognize, I can drink 2 potions if I drink these 2 in particular. Then you feel like, ooh, I'm getting away with something.
I'm breaking the game.
I feel good, right? Or as I talked about taking my son to 70 in an hour, that feels like you're breaking the game, but it feels good and fun. And so why do I need to be the fun police and say oh, I hate fun, so stop doing that?
So what I'm hearing is we should all be Spiritborn.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
no, it's going to be
just rock that.
It's going to be broken in the most fun way, I'm sure. No, it's going to be overpowered for sure. But I mean, it's just because part of it is just the creativity that goes into and the effort that goes into the builds that go out there. We do a lot of work and we do a lot of testing, but you can never kind of test to the degree that the experts out there and the build makers and the guide makers do. And so they create these combinations, and all the stuff where you go like, wow, I had no idea that if you did these 7 things, it would add up to this, right? And so there'll probably be some early learning, but again, our philosophy is more around as long as it's not crashing something, then we're probably okay for a while. And so my expectation is we will not be knee-jerking a bunch of fixes or balance changes just because somebody's having fun with the Spiritborn.
No. I hope you don't, because I had a lot of fun with it when I got to go play with it.
Yeah, so tell us about that. How was your visit?
It was great. Like, I think coming into it, there was, for me, a personal bias and trepidation of like looking at it and being like, oh, okay, Spiritborn, this jungle thing. Like for me, it looked a lot like when Marvel does Savage Land stuff, and has which has never been my jam. It's always, I'm always like, the jungle thing, I'm not really like it. I do, like you talk about
prehistoric at least.
I know. You talked about season 2 and vampires though, right? And I was like, I was like, hell yeah, let's go. Jen, make a character. She's like, I don't want you to make a character. There's vampires, we're going. No, but getting in and seeing the presentation we just saw and then getting on sticks for me was such a, oh, okay, I really do vibe with this. And I vibe with it the way of like being a poison build already, like for my rogue in the Eternal Realm. That's who I think of all the time for my character. I feel so connected to that centipede. But then it was the idea of going in and mix and matching the 2 spirit classes, right? And having that and seeing what the buffs could be. Like, okay, well, I went through and did them all. And for me, it was centipede, gorilla, then it was jaguar, eagle. And like even eagle being at the bottom, I'm not like, oh, it's trash. It's just like, oh, I wouldn't, I felt like I was describing it to you in the car, right? The only way I know how to do any of this stuff and describe anything is through comic books, right?
Okay.
And so it's that idea of like, well, Jaguar's Flash, sure. I think of the gorilla as a Hulk character, sure. Okay. Poison could be anybody, but kind of with the summoning in the green, I think Green Lantern, but it's very different. But you know how it is. Poison Ivy, I don't know if you caught the thing, like I'm naming her Maleficent because it's like that's what it's going to be. I'm going to do a purple and green like outfit build for it or whatever. Nice. So Poison Ivy didn't really work. Doesn't matter. And then of course, to round it out for Eagle, I was like, okay, it reminds me of like how I think a lot of people think of a Superman or a Wonder Woman of like, that power, but that agility and like, sure. Flying and feeling like you're moving around. Anyways, I liked it all, but I think I'm going to probably go 100% Centipede because I did really like that when I toyed with everything and moved it around. But what I was so impressed by was finding something I liked in every one of the class is the power it did feel like, again, like something, we talked over it too, I know, and blah, 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 but like, it was something I didn't see driven home as much as it was the idea that like Spiritborn is so combo based,
right?
Where it is like that third shot is doing something cool, and even when you can upgrade it, so like they're all the third shot, and then there's another third shot. It's like there's like an insane amount of stuff going on there, but the visual of it and the ability to get in there and have the worm out, but then the poison swarms and then everything else going on, I was like, I feel so powerful and this is so much fun, and it doesn't feel like what I was worried about feeling like I am a jungle character and I am, I'm here with my another pet. I'm already running around with a pet, another pet that's doing this thing. Like that vibed so well with me. The customization and the ability to tweak things vibed so well with me. And then again, it's always weird talking Diablo. And to put you over once again, right? When I was coming on the podcast there, I was so nervous, and I don't get nervous at all on camera or podcasting or interviewing. Yeah, I've done it once or twice.
We're a big deal.
But it was that idea of like, I listened to that show and I know the minutia they know and how they engage with Diablo. Whereas, for our audience, for me to be here and be like, oh yeah, I've played, 120 hours of a game. Like for a lot of games, that's a lot. And for Diablo, that's not a lot. And so it is that idea of like, I know that like, even though I'm not casual in the way like, oh, I play once or twice, like I play a lot and I'm on Portal, but it's like I'm a casual Diablo player in the way of like I really don't min-max that much and I really don't worry about my build. I like this, I like that, I run with it. To be playing this Spiritborn character, and I think to look at how many people are going to come back to this or come for the first time to it.
Sure.
I loved going into the skill trees and the way you guys color coded it. Where it was like, cool, if you just want to be a centipede build, like here is the green centipede that you should be chasing on this tree
right.
and into this thing. And I thought that was so smart in a way of like, I think, when we talk about video games here, kind of funny, lots of time Pokemon comes up as like, baby's first RPG. Not because it is so many people started with it as a kid that way, and it is so approachable to learn a turn-based mechanic or how you're going through and doing this. I bet there's so many people who are like me and even further behind me in the casual, I guess super casual, if that's what you'd want to call it, that are just like picking things and not even really thinking about how they interplay or this would be better if you did that way. You know what I mean? Whereas this skill system I think you've done and the skills you have for the spirits, the 1 and 2 are going to be so additive and like light bulb moments for people of really how it all plays together.
Totally. Yeah, I think because the dedication to a particular Guardian is in itself a build. Like a lot of times people will be like, oh, I'm going to roll Barbarian, but I don't know what builds. Like, okay, there's 4 or 5 viable builds and I'm going to go down this path, and they're just sort of taking what looks cool. And that's fine. They're having fun. But like you're saying, I think the notion of, I can be 100% Centipede, and then you're like, well, that's in itself a build. So just by being a Centipede or by focusing on Centipede, you've created one of the 8, 9, 10 builds that they're available for Spiritborn.
Sure.
So yeah, no, it's a great point. I'm somewhat like, I'm a big Thorns guy, and so my homemade build is always a Thorns Necro, and so this season 4 was the time that could actually work. So now looking at having Thorns get projected out with poison, like it's kind of like the chef's kiss for me.
Yeah,
on that. It's so good. And like for me, the thing when I play, because I play Necro a lot, having minions, like having people do my bidding.
Your bidding,
like I love that. And so that what they showed in the stream around the Pestilence Swarm, where you can actually send it out, it's so great when you kill something and then a swarm comes out of it and then like hovers around and chases things down for you. It feels so great. So I'm definitely leaning into the Pestilence Swarm and looking at the legendaries they had.
Yeah, for me it was the idea of like, okay, coming in, I'm excited for Vessel of Hatred. I'm excited for a new area. I'm excited for new adventures. But it was like, am I excited for this character? And after playing it, I am.
That's great to hear. Like, because I do think it is a little challenging from a archetype perspective. When you think about fantasy archetypes, a lot of people can get the rogue. You think of like the int, Sork and the Dex rogue and the strength barbarian, and then like people get those power fantasies really fast. And when you go like, hey, Spiritborn, and you're like, I don't know that like the martial artist jungle spirit person is a classic archetype that I instantly grok and want to become. And so that's why I think it's going to be like things like this and going deep in it and letting people like you play it, is to be able to say like, oh, actually there's a lot of really here that's really cool and aspirational. It's just not instant sort of D&D class matching of I get the power fantasy right away.
And what I also thought was fun about it and interesting, right, was you guys had preset characters, right? You had 4 for us to jump in and do, and okay, this will be the Eagle Centipede. And like they had mixed and matched a little bit too.
Sure.
And it was like I'd play a little bit as one of them, pop out and play the other one, pop out and play the. And finally, I was like, wait, I'm treating these as if they're 4 separate classes. When the character I'm currently playing, I can just hold triangle, right? Reset all my abilities and build what I want there. And I was like, oh, that is so cool for this demo, obviously, but then to think about it in game, where it really is going to be cool. You've gone this when you get to level 30, right, which is where you get the second spirit class. Right. Now, do you want to just go and really get wild with it and experiment a million different ways and find in the character you've already spent as much time as you spent with it what the fun is for you?
Yeah, and it kind of harkens back to that classic Diablo thing of like, oh, I have a play style, but this wonderful thing dropped, and now I'm going to change my play style because I have this thing I didn't have before. And that's something I've always loved about Diablo is like, I'm going this way, and you get this a unique falls, and you go like, or I guess I'm now doing this, right? And it just causes you to sort of change it up and just try new things, which is fun.
I want to pull from the chat and pull from a super chat at once. All right, our friend who's around for everything, Langley M. Neely, who is the person who was downloading it because we were all talking about it in the last one, had said earlier in the chat, wait a second, 100 hours isn't a lot. What am I getting myself into? And what I appreciate so much about Diablo is the game you want it to be, where I think there is that audience, that is Xanth, that is, I'm going to only play hardcore characters, and I love the story, and I'm all about that. Then there is Joey, who I skip every cutscene, and I'm just out there to play with my friends and beat things up and do it. And then there's me, where I'm in between of like, the story's so far gone for me now. It's just about the narrative I'm building around the character I am, right? Where right now I'm rocking this Wonder Woman outfit, and I am, this is Diana of Themyscira, and she is out there in the Hell Tides beating it up and doing these things and yada. And I'm like, for me now, the chase is the trophies, obviously, but even for the first time, your battle pass got me this time around, where I'm like, damn, that level 80 armor actually looks dope. And I think it's going to be such a nice crescendo to, again, the story I've made up for Wonder Woman, Diana, in this game, where it's like, I think that's a great final armor for her when I have to leave her to move on to season 5 to roll somebody else and go through it that way.
Well, and you'll have that armor for the next season. You can apply it to whatever character you want.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is a nice thing about Diablo is it can be what you want it to be. It can be only a story-based game finish the campaign, roll the credits, and say that was an awesome game and move on. There's the people who play the end game forever and ever and ever. And so I think like 100 hours isn't casual. You're not casual, first of all. But yeah.
Real quick, I'm sorry. Xanth, how many hours do you have on this game?
But just because he's hard.
On PlayStation, it's 400 and something.
Okay.
And then there's PC too.
But
what's PC looking like?
I don't count that.
Oh, you don't count that. Okay, no big deal. No big. I appreciated earlier in the thing. I forget. I don't know who said what, but your son popped in and is like, he's got 400 hours.
Finn, I have told you.
Don't go on Daddy's PC.
We're not
check
talking
Daddy's
about
browser
this
history
here today.
It's just Diablo builds. Just Diablo builds. Like, my dad's a dork.
Just throwing me under the bus. That's my son.
But yeah, so you can, I mean, the other thing is like we find there's a lot of people that Diablo is a log on and chill kind of game. You know, they come
100%.
home from work and they just want to kill a bunch of demons and just sort of sit there and relax. And so for some people, it's just sitting there and being overpowered and being able to just wipe out stuff and it just feels good in the moment. Like your build's firing, you're killing, hundreds and thousands of demons. And so you get that sort of like, this is my game I go to at night to relax and kind of thing. And so I think there's room for all kinds of players. And I don't think people should think of 100 hours as like, oh, they're casual. That's a lot of time to spend on a game. And we know that. But what we want to do is make sure that people who want to spend 400 hours in the game have something to do and it's fun to do. And so we're continuing to work on that. We know, again, it's a journey, not a destination. We will not go like, okay, we're all done. People can do it. We're always adding, much like we're adding a horde mode in season 5 and all the cool stuff that with the expansion and our plans for season 7 and beyond. We're always trying to work to improve that.
Yeah, one of the things that you talk about there, is a chill game, right? Where I think of Diablo so much as comfort food.
Yeah, exactly.
Where it's that idea of like when I don't know what I want to play, or more importantly, there are so many times I get to the end of the day, Ben's asleep, Jen's going to sleep early, and I'm like, I'm going to play games. And I go down there and I'm like, I'm exhausted. And I know I got an hour and a half in me, and I'm like, I'm not at the point where I want to take on a new game, where you start a new game, you got to learn the thing and do the thing. So it's like, let's just go Helltide. Let's just go Diablo. Let's go chase this off. And I was actually commiserating a bit at the trip with Travis Northup from IGN. And he was talking about how sometimes he's fallen asleep playing Diablo before, and people take that as an insult. And he's like, no, it's such a zen experience. And I'm like, dude, I have fallen asleep playing Diablo so many times that it's not that I'm not interested. It's just that muscle memory of like, okay, do this skill to this skill to this skill to do the thing. All right, cool, got it. Teleport home, change it out, junk my equipment or whatever. But I think that's the highest compliment you could get it. And so I originally talked about Langley and pulling it back into a super chat. We had a super chat from Test Subject who said, never played before, is now the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
it'd be great if he's like, no, my game sucks. No, it's terrible right now.
Just wait. Today would be a terrible time. Yeah, I mean, no, it's great. If you've never played before, like the nice thing is that because of the seasonal realm, like you can go and play the campaign and jump into the season at any time. And so, like if you want to go start the campaign today, that'll be great. And then when you come out of the campaign, you can go jump into season 5 or however long it takes you. And then you're getting ready for the expansion, because I think you're gonna have a lot of fun with Vessel of Hatred, and going and finishing the campaign and then kind of picking it back up with the beginning of Vessel of Hatred, I think would be great. So if you've never played before, I would recommend not skipping the campaign. I would recommend going through the story and understanding the lore and all the stuff that's involved in the game, and getting to know Lilith and getting to know your character. And so yeah, I think now is a great time. Now, if you've played the campaign when we launched a year ago and you haven't been in back, like season 4, as we've been talking about, is a lot of fun. And in a couple of weeks, on August 6th, we're launching season 5, and that'll be a lot of fun too. So, but with a couple of weeks, you can definitely get to 100 and a season 4 character if you wanted to. Unless you're casual like Greg, then you'll never make it. But
never seen 100. That's one of the trophies we got. Got to do it.
You will get there. And I think, like, coming back to what you brought up before, Greg, like what I've always enjoyed about Diablo is you have that ability to go casual and to go hardcore. Not just the mode, but I can drop in for 5 minutes. I can drop in for 5 hours, and I can get something from it. I can get a minor upgrade. I can get a level. I can get a unique. And shout out to, again, I'm going to come back to season 4's improvements. I'm getting uniques at like level 20. that I couldn't get before. And then suddenly my build is online and I'm now going to rip out another 5 or 6 hours that originally were only supposed to be about 1. So I think that's one of the big bonuses of Diablo and what the series is that you can give it as much time as you want. Sure. And you're usually rewarded for it.
Yeah, and we even like the uber uniques or the ultra uniques, like those this season. I didn't get one in the first 3 seasons. I have 3 of them now in season 4. And so there's that sort of idea that, again, finding the fun fast and getting people to get to experience more of the game during a season. That it's not sort of being gate kept behind lots and lots of hours. Like now you can actually go and experience like a lot of the game, which is great. And I think if I can take 30 seconds to pitch Vessel of Hatred for a second, or at least why you might want to get it today, is one of the things we really want to do is make sure that people could really have some fun with the stuff right away. And so if you pre-purchase the Vessel of Hatred, which is coming on October 8th, you're able to get today the cat mount. So the big cat, you can ride basically a giant jaguar around instead of a horse, which is awesome. You'll be able to wear giant angel wings on your back at all time, which you'll see when they fire up, because I currently am riding my big cat with my angel wings in our hardcore character play. There's the new pet system that we brought in for season 4. So now you have a little animal that runs around, picks up all your gold and anything else that drops on the ground that would normally get picked up automatically. And, so we have the snow leopard and the tiger and the war dog and all that stuff. Like there's some cool stuff that if you're thinking about it and you really want to get into Vessel of Hatred, no better time to get it today, because you can actually play a bunch of stuff, use a bunch of it today. So I never remember the names. Of the actual, it's like watching the Lenny like rhyme off the names of the Spirit Guardians.
Dude, I'm
never going to remember.
That was such an understated moment of the stream. I was like, "What was your favorite Spirit?" And like, "Oh, Centipede." And she's like, "Well, and by name as if she knew them." I was like, "Damn, she is the writer of this game."
Exactly. So yeah. So anyway, just shout out to like if there's something there. You get a bunch of stuff today if you go and pre-purchase it. So
real quick, it wouldn't make any sense, but I made sure when we were there playing the game and getting the interviews, I talked to Steven over there, and when we were talking about pets, I brought up the fact of please add in a wiener dog.
Right.
You know what I mean? If we could just get a wiener, I don't know why. You can just do it quietly one day and just quietly drop them in there. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Okay. Or season 8, season of the wiener. You know what I mean? And it's ready to go. That's how we do it.
That's great naming right there, Greg. Season
you know
of the
what?
wiener.
There's a reason Kind of Funny's a middling success. You know what I mean?
Duly noted.
Finn, you can log off now. I did actually hear about that, by the way.
Yeah, I didn't realize that when he stopped me. He's like, actually, we know each other. I'm like, oh, who do you? He's like, I know of you, Greg, through somebody. I'm like, who? And he's like, Xanth. I'm like, oh, wait, are you the guy trying to find Wonder? And he's like, yeah. You wear this?
No.
I got this great barbarian. All right.
Okay.
Diana Themyscira.
If there's a man who can get to the bottom of it,
you of course have your little player cards, and we
Yeah.
get to go pick our names or whatever.
Yeah.
On the second tier, you have Wonder, which would be great for Wonder Woman.
Yeah, sure.
But I don't have it.
You don't know.
So then I Googled,
Right.
couldn't find it. Then I hit up Xanth, the man who knows everything about Diablo. He didn't know. Then he starts working on the inside of Blizzard trying to find out where it is. Nobody knows how to get Wonder. Give me Wonder. That's all I'm saying.
I will have it for you before the end of the day.
Thank you. That means a lot.
I mean,
to me.
and I will know its origin.
You just said it. That's just said it.
I
While
meant I
we're
will
streaming,
know its
it'll pop
origin.
for me.
Is
All right.
that how you earn it?
Yeah, Wonder.
Yeah, exactly. You ask me a question,
You
I grant
find
you
Rod
Wonder.
Fergusson.
Yeah,
I appreciate
I will
this.
find out how to do it.
This interview's now run into just, can you do this for me?
It'd be really nice if you could do that.
I need a wiener dog.
And a
Xanth,
a
what
Wonder
are the
title.
tough questions? Give him a tough. What does the community want that this guy's always dodging? What's he over here doing? You know?
Well, we already covered. It's not a paladin,
Right.
Yeah,
which
I saw
think
that
was
too.
like most.
Not a demon
of,
hunter. I saw people in the chat about that.
You know, that wiped out a bunch right there.
We've talked about it. They talked about it. Doing something new, stretch the creative muscles. But like, is that always on your mind as a team?
Creative muscle,
Yeah,
doing
it's
anything
not-
interesting, keeping your job
They
alive.
already
Yeah,
watched
whatever.
it.
All that
You
stuff.
know what I mean? But is it always on your mind of like, oh man, like I know the community thinks they want this, but so now we have to make something and it has to be even better?
Well, yeah. I mean, we're trying to always find a balance between nostalgia and bringing the familiar, but also what like the stuff they don't know they want, and bringing the new. And so that's always going to be. We're always going to have that line. But like I said, we felt like the nostalgia and the familiar we over-indexed on, or not over-indexed, but we indexed on for the first 5. And so we're like, okay, if we're going to start bringing we want to grow. We want to world build too. We want to we don't want to just be like, and here's the thing that already existed in the world, right? We want to be able to be additive to the world and bring new things too. And so, like we plan on supporting Diablo 4 for years and years and years. So I can say today, this is probably not the only class we're going to add to this game. Okay. And so the notion about like how we think about that moving forward, this one, like I said, we want it to be of a place, and we want it to be from the jungle, and the Spiritborn allowed us to do that.
So there's going to be, again, I think I'm going to ask questions that you can't answer.
Okay.
That's the best part.
I'm really good at saying no comment or I can't.
So Greg, you were talking about community questions.
Yeah.
If I get to talk to you and I don't ask about the cow level.
Okay, yeah. No, I can't talk about that.
Right.
And I don't even know what you're talking about.
I was going to say, you mentioned it earlier. You have a bunch of kind of funny folks here watching who are like Langley, who are hearing about Diablo and getting, what is a cow level?
Oh my goodness.
I don't know what it is. I've never heard of it.
No, he knows what it is. He's playing dumb. If I know about it, Rod knows about it. Xanth, what's the cow level?
The cow level. The mythical cow level. Essentially in Diablo 2. And if you have not played Diablo 2, you absolutely should. Please go. Diablo 2 Resurrected.
Yeah.
In sync. Did anybody catch that? Please click that. And I'm gonna need that. But Diablo 2 Resurrected is a great way to experience it. Essentially, what you are going to do is you're going to beat the base game. And then you are going to go and find Wirt. You're going to steal his leg. You're going to take a Tome of Town portal. You're going to put it into your Haragic Cube. You're going to hit Transmute. And you're going to be taken to the cow level. The cow level is exactly what it says. It is a level filled with Bardish wielding cows who are out to kill you. And it is phenomenal. Dates back to the beginning of the series in Diablo 1, when we were so bored while playing, we were clicking on cows, thinking that we could summon some sort of weird devil. There was a rumor. It was like early internet rumors.
The best kind of internet rumor.
It was on a BBS somewhere.
Right, like, oh man, if you just go and you click on this cow 666 times, you'll be transported to a cow level. So D2, they ended up incorporating it. And I have slaughtered more. I'm from Wisconsin. I've killed more cows in Diablo than in real life.
I understand like where you're from, but I should hope it was in the game more.
Well, you don't know what I do on my free time.
That's true. Browser history.
I don't know what he's talking about.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, so we don't know about that. But what I would be kind of curious about with the DLC, right? Let's go back. Let's talk Vessel of Hatred.
Yeah, let's do it.
How does it work? Are we going to immediately be able to jump right into Vessel of Hatred with a new character at level 1? Will we have to have completed the campaign? And yeah, I guess I'll give you a floor on that.
Yeah, I know. As I talked about before, the player journey, we want people to be able to get into it. And the worst thing would be like you have a friend who's just getting into it and you're like, then there's a new expansion you should play. And you go, well, I would play with you, but I first have to go finish the main campaign, and that's going to take me a couple of weeks, so I'll see you on the other side. We didn't want that. And so even if you haven't finished the main campaign, you'll be able to go and jump right into the story of Vessel of Hatred. And so, yeah, so like I said, you could roll a level 1, you could bring your level 100 or whatever Eternal Realm character, you can bring a seasonal character in at some other level, so it's sort of, it's aware of where you are in your progress and your process. So, yeah, and so it's up to you. But no, you don't have to play the main campaign. We wanted friends to be able to play with each other.
Now, Rod did mention it before. You absolutely should play the campaign. The story is amazing. It's
our best Diablo story for sure.
Oh, 100%. And it's beautifully done. The side quests are also like, okay, now we're going a little off tangent.
Because Greg's going to talk about how he skips all the side quests.
I know.
I don't skip them. I do them. We just got my beans. The demon took my beans.
Okay. For the record, that's not a side quest in Diablo 4.
Should be. You make my wife and I had
nor was it voiced like that. But anyway, yes.
It could be in Vessel of Hatred, though.
Yeah, it could be.
Again,
Greg?
Season 8, Season of the Wiener. Let me come in and record the Beans quest.
The Beans quest. Magic Beans quest.
I've already written 50% of your, the work's done. You know?
Exactly. Send me the recording.
Question I do have, I know we're winding down because I need you to go get trophies with me.
Yep.
Diablo Immortal.
Yeah.
I don't think we talk enough about Diablo Immortal.
I agree about that.
And I've been interested that there hasn't been more of a tie-in between Diablo 4 and Diablo Immortal. Not, hey, your characters are crossing or anything like that, but even like a battle pass integration or a sync thing that I get every season. Have there been thoughts about that?
We dabble. I mean, that was the big thing about the anniversary this year is we actually took one of the world bosses from D4 and made it a Heliquary boss in Immortal. We've been doing more stuff with Immortal, like even in terms of like IP collaborations. We just did a World of Warcraft IP collab with Immortal, but yeah, we're kind of like we're around the edges on that. Like we sort of dabble a little bit because one of the things we found was that those players aren't actually the same players, and that's what was really interesting for us. Is when we looked at, we expected when we shipped D4 that the Immortal player base would like be cannibalized. And it actually went up because of just the amount of all the brand marketing and all things we were talking about Diablo to everyone. Everybody was like, oh, what is that? And then there's this free one that they can go play on mobile. And so it actually turned out to be, D4 shipping was actually beneficial to Immortal, not a negative. And it's just that, but we recognize that they're just very different players. And so the idea of saying like, hey, you're a hardcore, not the mode, but the type mainline game player, maybe Immortal's for you. We find that they tend not to because there's the notion around the thing about a free-to-play mobile game is that there isn't that sense of like hitting min-maxing it to the fullest. Where in the mainline game, a lot of people are like, I have to be level 100 and I have to beat all the bosses and like the completionist thing. And on a sort of a infinite progression game, that's really hard to work. But if you've never played Diablo before and you're at all curious about it now that we're talking about it, there is a game called Diablo Immortal, which is available on PC and mobile, that will have tens and tens of hours of things you can do for free. You can play the full campaign for free. You can play a whole bunch of the world for free. So you shouldn't feel any pressure of like, oh, I'm going to have to go in and put a bunch of money down. There's so much fun to be had in Immortal just as a free player. And, the majority of people who play Immortal play it as free players.
And not for you, Greg, but there's a lot of great story that is integrated into Immortal.
I listen to the story. All right? I just don't memorize it like you freak, all right?
I can't believe you skip every cutscene.
The stuff with the girl and she was going to help her mom, but then her mom turns into the mom. That was awesome. That was all awesome in Diablo 4.
Good
all right?
recollection right there.
Come on now.
You got the
Lord
stuff. You got
The girl with Narelle.
Yeah.
It was like
It's kind of important.
kind of important now.
Just
moving
a
forward.
She kind of hangs out the entire time. Kind of looks like she's going to be important in the next one, but you know her.
Yeah,
She's the daughter. That's what you call her. That's what she is. This kind of thing. One of my final questions
Okay.
is you mentioned, of course, hinted, I should say, you plan to support this for a long time.
Yep.
Not going to be your last class, probably. Yada yada.
Yeah. Yada yada.
Well, I'm not trying to pin you down or misquote
No,
you or
no,
whatever. My question would be something I saw in the chat while we were watching the reveal stream together was people asking questions about the expansion, where it's like, oh, this is really cool. Are they going to do a lot of these? Are they going to do more of them? And I'm not trying to at all pin you down, but is expansion something you see on an annual basis or when it's right? Or how do you guys think of expansions, I guess, versus the seasons and everything you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, we're not committing to like it's be able to say like we're doing this on this cadence or whatever. And part of it is actually going to be like what happens on October 8th, in terms of there's a lot to learn there. Much like season 1, taught us a lot for season 4, looking at expansion 1 and going, how do we think about that? Like the reality is, like I talked about with the swim lanes, is that you tend to need to be working on the thing over top of it. You don't build in serial. You don't wait for expansion 1 to finish before you would start an expansion 2 if you were doing one. And so, we have to look at those sorts of things about like, how are we thinking about season 5 and season 6 and season 7? How do we think about expansions? What we want to do is bring what, interests players and what players want to do in Diablo. And so we're always looking at like what is being successful and, how do we think about the next era of, starting with season 7, how do we think about the next era of the live service and how do we think about how we're going to support it? So there's a lot to be learned still. So that's why we're not committing to anything today.
Okay. Fair enough.
I heard at least one a year. Was that just me?
That was just you. I think I might have been. Yeah, I said a lot of words to get to the words I questioned, so maybe I got caught up there. You got any final ones, Sam?
Let's think towards October here.
Okay.
It was pretty awesome as Diablo was launching that we got to go and get tattoos.
Oh.
What's the likelihood we can do that again?
Oh, having another Hell's Inc.
Did you get one?
Oh, I got one.
Where?
It's here.
Dude, lift your shirt. We're YouTube. It's fine. Let's show me this tattoo.
I don't want people to see my nipples.
You run all the time. You're in great shape.
And it's the Diablo 2 logo, right?
How do I?
Here, I got you.
Hold on. I don't want people
Greg
seeing.
wants to touch
I don't
you.
want people seeing my nipples.
Okay, that's fine. Do you want me
No nipples.
What do you?
to... There it is.
Oh,
There we go.
That's awesome. That's dedication.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
yeah, I did the necro. I don't know.
You
if I can
guys
do
are
it
so
in the
cool. I
shirt.
didn't get no tattoo.
So there's like I have the necro class as mine.
Very cool.
So
Where's yours, Greg?
I didn't know this was a thing. Nobody invited me to get a
Diablo tattoo?
tattoo.
Skipping all the cutscenes.
Now we know
I
why
can
you're tattooed.
tattoos.
That's why I'll get I'll get the woman's mom. I'll get the woman's mom tattoo. The mom and the woman on there. That's what I'll
Only
do.
120 hours.
Fake fan. Fake fan.
The last time we walked through with marketing, there wasn't a Hell's Inc. plan between now and October. I will take it back to Danny, and she can do what she's going to do with it. But yeah, no, I mean, it was. I talked about this at BlizzCon. Like it was phenomenal. I think there's something like 1,000 people got permanent tattoos on our road to launch. So it was crazy. And the energy, you went to one because you got your tattoo, and I went to one to get mine. And just being in line with people or talking to people in line and just hearing all their stories and what it means to them. And that's really kind of like, I love that the most, like being able to talk to players when you go to what used to be the E3 or you go to a Comic-Con or you go to something where people would sign up to or line up to you sign a poster or whatever, and you hear their story and what it means to them. It's just, that's what the really gratifying part, because you can kind of get into the echo chamber of Twitter or X or whatever, and the echo chamber of social media and all the stuff, and people are mad because their barbarian's not balanced right or whatever. But then when you go out and you have this person who says, this is what this means to me. Like I just did a call with a couple who they're both 70 years old, and they've been playing since Diablo 1, and hearing what it meant to them and how, they were giving me lots of feedback, which you've all given me, which is like I need more character slots. I have 12 level 100s now. 6 of them are eternal and 6 of them are seasonal, and they don't want to sacrifice their eternal ones like you do. But it was just hearing like that's how they bond together as this couple, that they play Diablo together in their 70s. And that's the gratifying part of being in games, is that the fact of how much it impacts lives and what it means to people. And so that's what keeps you doing it, for sure.
I think that's pretty great.
I was going to say that's beautiful. That's fantastic.
And I like that, because I think the Diablo community is awesome. And I like the perspective of like stepping outside of some of the vitriol.
Yeah.
Right. Because in general, like being at those events, or at least the one I went to, it was amazing.
Totally.
It was great to be surrounded by a bunch of people who are fans of the same thing. And it wasn't let's all get together and crap on this. It was, hey, what was your experience like? What was your favorite character? All of this. Or what are you going to play when D4 comes out? And I think that's pretty sweet to hear. And I'm glad you get that perspective, because it's very easy to just get
lost in the hate
on all that garbage.
Yeah, for sure.
Rod, thank you so much for spending the day with us.
Oh, no, this is awesome. It's my first time being here, and I thoroughly enjoying it.
Great. Well, you're not done yet, of course. We're going to go stream the
that's right, we have to
game.
play.
We're going to get me
Let's
some
go play some
trophies. Over here, Neo Aoshi in the chat said, we should all get a tattoo to commemorate this podcast. And what I'll say is this. When you add the wiener dog pet, that's when I'll get my tattoo, all right?
Okay, this is recorded, though, right?
That's going to go up. Don't get me. I got Portillo in this game. I'm trying.
Is the tattoo going to be the girl and her mother?
No, it'll be the wiener dog.
Okay.
It'll be the wiener dog. Yeah.
Okay, well, putting a wiener dog tattoo on is not exactly a big stretch.
No, but
for
it's
you.
your wiener dog.
Oh,
we can figure out, like, this is my memorial to Porty. We can put, like, the Diablo logo around it and have, like, the wiener dog pop. Well, you guys got artists. I'll just tell them to draw. I'll tell them what I want. I'll make it happen. You know what I mean?
A demonic wiener dog. Yeah.
Demonic wiener dog. I love it. Oh, my goodness. Ladies, gentlemen, and NBs, guess what? That's the end of this episode of the Kind of Funny Gamescast. Each and every weekday, we come to you with the hottest reviews, previews, topics in the video game industry. If you like that or like this show, go ahead and pick up that Kind of Funny membership. It keeps the lights and mics on for this 11-person independent operation, small business. You can pick it up at patreon.com/kindoffunny or youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. If you are watching later, remember, we're about to go stream Diablo 4 with Rod and Joey. You can catch that on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. If you're watching live on YouTube, there'll be a new link to click on. If you're on Twitch, just chill out. I think Joey's going to probably start it up while we scarf down some food real quick, but then we'll be in there as I continue to make progress towards my platinum trophy. You know what I mean?
And
it just sounds nice. Platinum trophy. That was an achievement. What does that even mean? You know what I mean?
I mean, gamer score. It just rolls off the tongue.
Ladies and gentlemen, until next time, it's been our pleasure to serve you.